Tim, you certainly got quite a bit from your interior defensive linemen this past week in particular. What do you see from Brandon and Popo and how they're always instrumental, but particularly against Utah, how important will they be?
Well, it's going to be critical. They've been playing really well the last half of the year between Brandon and Popo, and as good and as physical they are in the run game, they've got to show up. They did last week against Oregon State, playing against the number one rush team in our league. We challenged our guys, and they met the challenge. Have a different challenge this week, and we know the challenge from 2 weeks ago. So we've got to have those guys play well for us to play well as a defense.
How do you view that? Being able to play an opponent so quickly again, is it a positive? Is it a negative? Because you guys are both so familiar with each other, or just? I
don't look at it as a positive or negative. Maybe it's a positive that we know each other. Obviously there'll be wrinkles, but they're going to be a physical downhill running football team, and we did not do a good enough job. I did not do a good enough job getting our guys ready to play that football game. And so we addressed it after that game. We made some corrections last week, and I liked our progress against the run last week, and we need to take another step this week to have a chance.
Was there a benefit playing Oregon State, a team that stylistically kind of looks similar to Utah in the running game with the multiple tight ends, to maybe be a tune-up or a brush-up adjustment-wise for this week?
Possibly. They were going to test you in the run game, and we challenged our guys that coming off the Utah game where we did not play to our standard, that we needed to step it up, and then we were going to have a great opportunity against a team that runs the ball. So I think that was a good lead into this game, because our guys needed to play our technique much better. We needed to coach it much better, and I liked how our guys responded.
How do you feel like you guys did against 12 and 13 and 22 this last week?
I think our guys fit it much better. I think we gave them a better plan than what we had the week before, and our guys responded to that.
You came out in 4-3 for the first couple of plays and then kind of broke from that a little bit. Was that one of those wrinkles like you talk about, something just you were testing or putting on tape to give Utah something to think about? Or
Well, it's something that we can do. We try to get our best players on the field to match up with what their personnel is on the field, and that's one of our personal groupings that we feel pretty good about fitting runs.
How much of that is that a product of finally having Jackson back and some guys kind of fill that out?
Yeah, no, it's a big product of that. When you put a third linebacker out there, it's kind of tough when you're thin, and we've got some younger guys who are going to be really good football players that maybe haven't developed quite where we want them to, but having a guy like Jackson, who was here in the springtime, get him healthy, and he's been making steady progress. That's really helped us get it in that.
Yeah, what have you kind of made of his first couple games back?
The first one was going to be rusty, as you expected, coming off that injury and being out since last spring. But I love the way he competes. I love the way he prepares, and he plays hard. And he's one of those big linebackers that's physical when he gets to the point.
Coach said Jordan and Jamal were added to the leadership council. Both guys filling in for starters that are hurt. Mm-hmm. What can you say about those two's progress and how they've kind of earned that recognition?
Well, I've been really pleased with how both of them played, and I think they've earned the respect of our entire team just by how they prepare and play. Jordan's had an interesting career here. He transfers in here. I believe he walked on at first. He earned a scholarship. He was selected a captain last week, and I thought he did a tremendous job in leading our team, spoke to our team prior to the game. And for a kid from Oregon, it was just heartfelt, how much that game meant to him. And he really stepped up and played hard, and has been playing that way ever since he's been in the starting lineup. And so it's great. In football, you never want to have anybody injured, but it creates opportunities. And Bennett was the same way when he went down. Jamal has really stepped up since then.
Given Jamal's start to the season and what transpired off the field, what has his personal growth just been from your perspective to get to this point now?
Yeah, people make mistakes, and I think he's learned from it. He paid a price by not being able to go through camp, and it set him back, and it hurt our team. He realized that, and so I think he's worked extra hard to make amends, and to see his growth the last couple of weeks. We need him to be that player for us, because he's a guy that can play coverage. He's a physical guy in the run game, and so his skill set translates particularly to a game like this, and to see him step his game up has been huge.
Dante Manning is a guy who's gotten a lot of reps, and obviously with Mikkel getting dinged up last game, he had to come in a little bit more. What have you seen from him, and kind of how he fared against Oregon State last week?
I think early in the season he maybe didn't play with the confidence that he's playing with now, and that comes with reps. He's a guy that's always been a physical player. He's got the skill set. He can really run, but it takes time for young guys to feel comfortable in the system and understand how an offense is trying to attack. What leverage you need to play with, and then how the disguise works. I think he's getting closer to what we need there. I think having him play some nickel has helped him. Even though it's a little bit more on his plate, but I think he's a natural player on a slot as well as a corner. So I'm really pleased to see his strides the last few weeks.
With what Utah does offensively, particularly in the ground game, Tim, how important is tackling and the tackling circuit this week specifically? And what does the tackling circuit look like in week 14 when that was an issue 10 days ago?
No doubt. Their backs are really physical runners, and you have to wrap them up. You're in week 14. We've got a bunch of guys practicing in red jerseys that they really can't have contact, but they need to see the reps. The other guys that aren't, they need to thud up. And you go back to your basic fundamentals. We had tackle circuit today, and it's clamp and driving your feet. It's guys taking the proper angles, which we didn't do a very good job of last week. Pinning a hip, not overrunning plays. All those fundamentals have to take place. You don't necessarily have to have the huge contact in it, but you've got to go back to the fundamentals of taking the air out and then finishing on the ball carrier.
What's I'll make it the most basic as possible. How do you better contain Keithy?
Well, he's a guy that we have to know where he's at, because the times that he made plays on us, our eye discipline was not very good. We didn't understand where number 3 was. We let his leverage us, and then we didn't tackle him very well. So he's going to be a guy that I'm not going to go into the whole game plan, but he's going to be a guy that our guys know about.
Have you ever historically double teamed a tight end?
I haven't. We haven't played against guys that are like him. Probably when Gronk was down in Arizona, maybe people did that with, but he's something that you've got to know where he's at on the field, because he's obviously a big weapon. And then the other part is 18. So they've got 2 guys that really merit doubling, and so you got to make some decisions.
You've got experience being in Las Vegas from your Mountain West days. This is kind of a new environment for this team, new stadium environment. What are the expectations, just being down there, keeping guys sharp and focused, and also playing in a dome for the first time this year?
Well, I think our guys are focused on the 1-0 process. Whether we play in someone's backyard or a beautiful stadium that we're going to play in, they really don't care. I think it's one less concern for them is that you won't have the elements to deal with that we had to deal with maybe the last time we played Utah. They just want to play. They want to play on a fast surface that's clean and enable us to play our best football. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. Part of our process, we'll go in the night before, let guys take a look, take pictures if they want to, and get ready to play a ball game, that next day.
Is that preferential for you? Is that preferential for you as a coordinator to be able to not have to worry about how elements impact game script and game plan? You can just kind of go out with what you got and go?
It is. I like playing a clean football team, or a clean football game where, elements aren't part of it. If they are, both teams have to deal with it. But this part, there's no wind, there's no weather to worry about. Both teams should be playing as efficiently as they can.
How important have some of the experienced guys like Kayvon, Jamal, you mentioned, help some of the younger guys going through this first time Pac-12 kind of experience here?
I think it's huge that we've got guys that have played in at least one, if not multiple, Pac-12 championships, because there's nothing like that experience. Everybody's going to be fired up for this game, but you can't let the adrenaline, take you out of your focus for what you've got to execute. I'm sure our young guys will lean on guys like KT and Jamal and Verone, the guys that have played big in these games.
Both you and Mario had said that first and second down was really as big a culprit as the third down numbers against Utah. Do you, in review of that and assessment of it again this week, more execution, more play call and design and scheme? Where do you kind of try to remedy it?
The big thing that I look at what I did as far as the plan, we had our guys thinking too much. And they do a lot of shift, trade, motion, and you want to be in the perfect defense. But if our guys are communicating you got to communicate some, but if you're thinking too much prior to the snap and your cleats aren't in the grass getting ready to tee off on somebody, you're doing something wrong as a coach. And so I told our defense that after the game, we're going to give them a much simpler game plan where they can effectively do that, so that we can do what we did last week on first down and be much better against the run.
Jason Jones looks like a guy who's really taken some strides of late. Getting his first sack a couple weeks ago, blowing up the line against Oregon State. How valuable has it been to your defense to have him kind of coming along with Keon kind of banged up?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. With Keon being down, someone's got to step up. And Jason's a guy who's really worked hard, I think, all season. Coach Salovey has done a really nice job of bringing him along. You look at where he was last spring to where he's playing now. He's a different football player. And when guys go down, someone's got to step up. So it's really been nice to see that. And he's got to take another stride. He's not where his potential is just yet, but he's starting to approach it, and it's been really nice to see as a coach.